As Star Wars in a Galaxy says in our chat, it's anytime. That's right, it is a Friday and we're hanging out here. This is a show that goes deep into politics, culture, social issues, and also stays on the surface. We are a 360-degree conversation. This is Anytime with Ken. That's me. That face is Alden. Hey,
hello.
Buddy.
How's it going? How you doing?
It's going good.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. It's a
Solid
casual
week.
Friday. Be honest with me. Do I look like Tim Walz fixing a 79 truck?
I don't know. Like it's like you yeah, I get what you mean, but also you got to give yourself some credit. After Bret the Hitman Hart and his family, the legendary Hearts of professional wrestling, the pink and black attack is kind of yours. Like I can't think of anyone that sticks to it as much as you do.
Pink, black, white, little purple in there. Actually, basically, Anytime is my other aesthetic. We are, and there's a reason I'm wearing this shirt. We will get to that here. But first, it's our little banter up top. Our little podcast banter up top that people either hate or leave. By the way, if you're watching live, you know what I'd love for you to do? I rarely ask this. Leave, not only leave a comment if you're watching later or watching live, but like the video. Like the video.
Yeah.
We, Alden and I have people that don't like us. And I signed in today. We already had more dislikes than likes. We didn't have a lot. It was like 2 to 1. But I'm like, okay. Who did this?
Sure. This is this is the fallout of the saying true things about crowds on the internet. Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I did the same banter joke last night on Casually Talk, thus proving once again that in 20 years I will age into you.
Well, man, be better.
Be better.
Yeah,
maybe in as much as like the PS5 is different from the PS4. Like there'll be marginal graphical improvements.
Yes. I'm a little slower. It takes a lot longer to get to the Fortnite launch island on the PS4 and me. Jared the Dark Jedi here says lunchtime with Eddie Tua. I saw people campaigning to get you on Talk Tua. I would love to see that happen.
I don't know if it would be, and as I said on Twitter, I'll just retire first. But it's like, yeah, I don't want to poo-poo her specifically. I believe her name's Haley. I don't want to go after her as a human being. Although, based on her business choices and everything, I don't have a lot of confidence in her as a human being, based on where that show is.
I don't like your chances.
Yeah, exactly. It's like at first I was like, oh wow, it's not her fault that like everyone thinks she's funny for this. And then I was like, oh, where's your podcast label? Like, where are you signing? Oh,
What CryptoCon are you at? Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's right. 54% of white women went that way. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Hello. Jorge's here. Laserbolt's here. Eli says, don't bring that here. So yeah, this is not a talk to an episode. Don't worry. But it's like, yeah, it does on a broadcaster level, as I'm sure it does for you, really pain me to see it happen. She's not the first. She won't be the last, but it's painful.
No, it's going to factor. We're going to talk a lot about AI today. And it's like we try to do here, multiple truths, 360-degree conversation. There's some things that I like and I personally use that are AI and other things I don't and blah, blah, blah. We're going to get all that. But I was thinking today, there's some similarities, Alden, between any big advancements in tech and even as it relates to art. Like I always talk about, and I put the onus on me, it was my responsibility to be better. But when podcasts first emerged, I was like, how dare you? How dare you take a radio station and put it on your phone and think that you could be me? And because of that, everyone surpassed me. That's not on them. That's on me. But we're going to talk about the bigger picture. There's some true concerns that maybe weren't present back then, because back then it was just new tech, not replace you. But so that's all in my mind. And that does fall into that, where I can't be upset at her, at least now. This was fate that stepped in. It's like winning a lottery ticket. Ride that lightning bolt, baby, until it ends. But what kind of world do we have where this works? That's the question.
Yeah, because a lot of it forces you to confront yourself. It's like if a bit that you did on stage, or even if somebody like found you on the street and was like, and you made a funny punchline for it.
Mhm.
And then someone was like, we want to offer you X amount of millions of dollars for a 4-year deal or whatever. It's like, you're going to take it. I would take it. Like,
Take it.
we all know this. So it's like,
Yeah.
we all even, talk to a girl, hawk to a girl, like that all still falls under like, we're all beholden to like survival under capitalism. Like, it sounds dramatic to put it in those terms, but it's true. Like, she was a regular human being. And I'm sure the same day that she made that joke, she thought about her bills or her house or her car or like, so it's like, yeah, on a human level, get that money. Like, if you can con somebody as dumb as the Paul brothers into giving you a few $1 million, take it. But it is unfortunate. We have Dan from The Food in My Beard is here. AI is taking my job. Dan actually made his first Casually Talk appearance last night, called into the show and joined us to talk about Eregion.
Dan is great.
Had a fun time.
Yeah. Look, that sucks, Dan. We'll talk about that. And Alden and I are bonded over the fact that AI took our job at the end of 2022. But at least the robots can't cook yet. They can tell you how to cook.
Yes.
But they can't tell you, they can't actually do it for you. Just like there's always going to be a brick wall and a microphone that I'm going to need to stand in front of. But for now, we'll see. We'll see for all the audience looking at some animatronic, hey, where are you from? It's possible. It could happen.
I mean, we had the controversy earlier this year, late last year, early this year, about the Will Sasso podcast group that like recreated Carlin in an AI special or attempted to, and it became a whole thing. And of course, it was a legal action that took place, and quietly, no more AI Carlin, which tells me maybe a settlement or something happened, or at least a cease and desist, or something of that nature. Eli says F generative AI. Yeah, we'll talk about that distinction, what that means versus other things. But while we're bantering, I didn't bring this up to you off air because in radio as well as I do, there's a lot of save it for the air. You want these things to be genuine. There are several things we're going to talk about today. We're talking about Saturday Night Live a little bit later. We're going to break into an entertainment section. But I was listening to one of the only Star Wars podcasts I still listen to, Force Center. You might have heard of it. And Jennifer Landa, Joseph Scrimshaw, and some guy were on there, and it was revealed that Ken Knapsack has never seen The Lion King.
Yeah. And Joseph Scrimshaw. Never seen the animated Lion King. I've seen the remake.
Which is also animated. But it's like it's
the other animated Lion King.
The different animation. Yes.
I try not to be that like, how could you not have seen the but like I put on Force Center, and I had missed the live stream where you initially said this. But I put on the new episode, was doing dishes or whatever. And then I was like, this mother effer. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna text him. I was like, I'm gonna look him in the eye. Ken, I would pay any amount of money for I would do anything to sit on your couch and watch you watch Lion King.
You ain't coming over.
I beg. You already have Disney Plus. It's right there. It's a click away.
I don't know, man. The explanation Joseph and I gave, and then everyone always says, yeah, but that was 1992, 94. How come you haven't corrected it since? I always say this. It's always part of my personal brand about the things I haven't watched. And sometimes you can correctly accuse me of continuing not to watch things to keep a joke going. That was Ghostbusters for a very long time. That is probably still Gremlins, a movie I've never seen. So I have a lot of, oh my God. But this one is particularly because it was not intentional, and you just miss something. And look, it's everywhere, right? I know all the key moments. I know who Scar is. I know what happens. I know the big plot points, and this is before I saw the movie. I know who Hakuna Matata. You just don't miss it.
Yeah,
you just don't miss it. But the starting point, I don't know. You don't even need my explanation. But the starting point was just, it was of its time. I was in high school, man. I was a junior, approaching senior in high school, and I wasn't too cool for school. It was just like animation was looked down upon a little bit, which is incorrect. It's not right. But it's just like, it's a cartoon movie, and it's some singing, and Elton John's doing this really weird schmaltzy ballad. Like, I don't want any part of this. I don't need this. And I was watching Bad Girls with Madeline Stowe. Okay, this is my life.
Okay,
this is my life.
You're watching real cinema.
I was watching real cinema. That's what Tombstone. And it wasn't because, again, not because I'm too cool for school. I was a nerd. but it just was like it wasn't in on the radar screen.
And you're like, I'll give. So 1994, this movie comes out. 1994 is also the year that like Pulp Fiction came out. So it's like I'm sure that you all had your like event movie that year. It was probably that, like the thing that everybody looked to. And like you don't have kids, so it's like, yeah, I'll give it to you that in that context. But man, Ken, there's still time. And like this movie, I promise you, you will weep. You will, even if you know the stuff.
But I watched the new version. I was like, yeah, okay. But I mean, look, it's one of Grace's favorite films. It's one of Grace's favorite films. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, I've let people.
No, you're not letting me down. I just like
then I'll upset Eli even more. At least tell me you'd be open to seeing the Broadway musical.
Oh no,
I despise plays and Broadway and musicals. It's not 1860. We have other forms of entertainment. We don't need to see things on stage all the time. I don't enjoy a lot of things.
And that is why Ken's ideal fiance and partner is a theater actor.
As a musical theater major. We saw, I'll say this. We saw Moulin Rouge at the Pantages. Total fun. I'm not a
great show and great movie.
But the idea, if I'm in New York and you're like, hey, you want to go see Lion King? I'll be like, no, that deli's open 24 hours. Let's go there.
The 24-hour deli. That's objectively funny. And I honestly, not disagree with you. I wouldn't ride for the musical over the movie, but the movie, the 2019 remake, it's a tech demo. It's beautiful to look at, but like all the heart that you get and the animation, the animals, and the it's just like the first one. The soundtrack is incredible. Matthew Broderick and James Earl Jones, and Jeremy Irons.
All the early '90s stars come out. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's Hamlet. That's why you know the beats too. It's Hamlet.
Yeah. Look, but this I swear to all that is holy. This one is not part of like my Ken hasn't seen things grumpiness. It just never happened, and don't feel as though I missed it because I just hear it all and see it all the time.
All right, brass tacks, so we can move on to the next topic. Brass tacks. What is the dollar figure that this show would need to raise in the PayPal?
I already feel bad. I already feel bad. Scotty J-Ro donated $25 for us to eat a crunch wrap taco with a Dorito in it. We just couldn't do it, and so I absorbed the money. I think I should probably Venmo you like $12.50. And so I intend to do a food challenge here in the name of Scotty, or we're going to go at Scotty and Jerry's show soon. We're going to work on those details.
That's right.
So I don't need to raise any money to watch Lion King. Just one night it'll happen. Maybe I'll get drunk. It's not so much money, unless you want to pay my rent for a month. But it's more about how many rum and diets will it take for me to be like, all right.
Totally. It's so, man, and it's like I could just do what you do sometimes when you want to bust your buddy's balls and like I'm gonna message the fiance and be like, hey, you better but I want you to come to it because that's part of the themes. That's part of what Lion King is about. You have to ride that.
No. Anytime on Bombad.
Anytime on Bombad is coming.
Not that Force Center wouldn't be on Bombad, but anytime is going to go
in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Once Wings of Power is out of the way, and we have Thursdays more flexible.
Yeah.
So they do have costumes, but you're not going to convince Ken with Broadway costumes. I think if
they're all talented people. Talent is talent. Art is art. I don't want to talk, but it's like it's one of my last. I used to be one of those kind of comics type of guy. Like I don't want to see a play. I don't.
What is this might be a whole other thing that we can revisit later, but what is the line for you? Like, I know you have like the half joking, I don't like magicians and like other things like that, but when does comedy become performance? Like, is it just like one too many creative choices in a stand-up set? And then you're like, this is a one-man show. This is not stand-up.
Oh yeah, there's kind of that. Life is not a Groundling sketch. We used to say there's some comics out there. It's like impressionists. Not that they're talented. It's a different vibe, and I respect it. Like it's so funny. I was Flappers. I was on a show the other night, and Melissa Villasenor was on the other show, and she was there in the lobby, and we didn't chat or anything. But I used to host shows when she was starting out in LA in like 2005, and she'd come up and do all those impressions. And it didn't always work, but she was super talented, and it obviously got her someplace. Because and there's a kind of a snooty, oh, that's not stand-up thing that I don't think is correct, because someone like her can rise above that and find her voice, and she did. But there's some of those divides, and I don't even know if it's correct. Stand-up is stand-up, like if you've ever seen Joseph Scrimshaw perform stand-up, it's not what I would call, and he would say it's not like club comic work. It's something a level above, and its own and it wouldn't necessarily translate to every little venue in LA, but when you see it, it's almost beautiful, right? So it's like there is a dividing line, but so that's why I try to push past it when I'm like talking down on magic or theater.
Yeah,
it might even be the people in the culture around it more than the performers.
Maybe that makes sense.
It's talk to a girl. It
was in my mind too, because there's a special on HBO right now. From Hannah Einbinder from Hacks, and it's she Lorraine Newman's daughter, and she did a special where some people were saying this is really good, but it's not stand up, it's a performance, and I was like, I feel like it's not mutually exclusive, but what do I know? And a part of it is like you can tell which stand ups have like a real working relationship with the director of the special, where it's like, okay, when I hit this line, we're gonna go to the left camera. When I hit like things like that are outside of the material itself, that I could see why people say that, but at the same time, it's like you got to stand out somehow. So
no, absolutely. There's a lot of ways to crack an egg when it comes to stand-up comedy, and I've done something. I did one night. It was on my MySpace page, and I can't get the video down. I've been trying to because I want to put the video elsewhere. There was one night I went up on stage and I had about 3 minutes, or I went about 3 minutes, and my whole bit was getting ready to perform, but nervously backing off, and then I did this whole thing, and then I lit myself, which was great. Everyone loved that, and then I went off stage without saying one word, and that could probably piss off comics, but I did. So I like doing that kind of stuff at times. I did that in my 40-minute Burbank set. I played around with the format a little bit, because that's what Steve Martin did too. Steve Martin wasn't doing stand-up. Steve Martin was performing about stand-up.
Yeah, 100%. That's also how I think a lot of us like describe wrestling sometimes. Like professional wrestling is not inherently a sports program. It's theater about a sports program.
Yeah.
Like it's a show about it. Anyway, this has been cultural analysis by way of Lion King.
Ban the super kick.
For your first protect it. If you're not tuning up the band, I don't want to see it.
Protect the super kick. No Slap City for me.
Protect the super kick could be like a really great wrestling podcast, but we're not doing that. Not every routine can be Eddie Izzard recounting the creation myth.
Yeah.
I just watched the Outstanding special. I texted you about it, that you said to watch, or documentary about the Hollywood Bowl performance with 22 queer comics from all these different eras. Very good. Very good stuff. Very emotional. I definitely suggest that everybody check it out for sure.
I love. I'm glad you watched it. It's there's so many wonderful things, and Eddie Izzard featured so much in it, and she's a performer that I look at as crossing some barriers and getting under a lot of hearts, like including mine, when we weren't sure what was happening. It was like, oh, but I like this performer. I'm a fan of Mr. Ipman, and Eddie Izzard is in it, and okay, I'm gonna follow her on this journey then. And I think that's important. But also the other side is Todd Glass, who had been around before. Todd Glass was, closeted doesn't even come into play. That's the term. But you wouldn't. It was one of those like whoa type of like occurrences when Todd came out, and equally as powerful for different reasons. And I love watching. I'm glad you like that doc. Yeah,
absolutely. So all that being said, we talked about art. We talked a little bit about wrestling. We talked about a classic animated movie. We talked about all these things. And what do they have in common outside of maybe wrestling? They are all under threat by artificial intelligence and generative AI. They can't. The wrestlers and will never be replaced. It will be the final. It will be the final art form in the wasteland. Like we will still have carnies at the end.
It's going to be. The world's going to. Armageddon's going to happen, and the only thing left for art and entertainment will be carnies, stand up and wrestling combined.
100%. Every wrestler will have a type 5. Now
they kind of do.
This AI conversation we've hit before, and we've talked about it at different stages. But then this week was particularly loaded. And, you know, like in the promo for this episode, I was saying, you know, we got Lionsgate cut to deal with an AI startup that just like, there's no way to cut it except why did we have a strike? What, how can you do this on top of the guild protections that are happening, on top of, you know, what Gavin Newsom's done, different things like that, or not what he's done, what he's signed, that other people have done. And then now you got that. You have EA coming out with their CEO saying that AI is at the core of their entire business now. They're just like saying the quiet part out loud. If you were worried, you should be worried. You have this, what they're calling it's social, but it's spelled, you know, SOCIAI. You know, it's like trying to be clever about it. Social media platform that these tech bros are starting, where all the responses and followers will be AI generated, which like that's not social media. That's just weird. We had that. Then we had Guillermo del Toro with an incredible talk where he sort of laid the gauntlet down and shit on all AI generated stuff as barely compelling screensavers. And yeah, so it's like it's all coming to a head right now, it feels like. And I wanted to revisit the topic because it keeps rearing its head, and it's in all of our industries, and we all know people that are doing it and using it. And yeah, let's kick it around. Let's rant about it.
Well, where are you at right now with it? Where are you at in the overall picture? And disclosure, I had texted you some things of like, hey, here's some of the angles I have on it because of some things. I use a lot of AI things now, and I know a lot of people that do. That I sat in a party once, and AI came up. This is during the strikes, and I was expecting everyone to be like, yeah, boo, and everyone was like, no, it's spectacular, and you either start using it or you die off. And I was a little shocked by that, but it led me down the path to start using it in some areas. But I want to kick back to you. Like, what's your temperature check right now?
My temperature check
bad stuff this week
is wrath and dystopia. I texted you and I said, this is like, it feels like Blade Runner, but without any of the cool long jackets or the neon or 80s Sean Young or anyone like her. Certainly no Harrison. I wouldn't want to explain generative AI to Harrison Ford. I think he would just be so deeply annoyed by me even speaking. I want to be clear about distinctions too, like with this, like saying I'm angry about it and I want to rant about it, and I do. There is a difference, definitely, you know, caveats between generative AI and like things that equate to like better Siri. You know, like we've had Siri for a long ass time. We've had Alexas for a long ass time. Sorry if I just set anybody's off. But it's like things like that. You want to have something read back to you, or it's like, I know that like one of the companies you work for, like it comes in like a research capacity, and it's like for things like that, you're already doing it and you're complicit. Like if you, like I texted you, like if you Google search anything now, you get AI results before you get other things. They've already surrendered to it. So everyone's using it. Everyone, you know, Meta is operated by their AI. The X and / Twitter has the Grok AI or whatever built into it now. So it's like there is no like clean hands here. And like for research and organization and like, you know, dictation, like whatever, great. Like I follow an artist named Gabrielle Drolet, who is a cartoonist for the New Yorker. And because of a condition, she had like for like a long time, she has use of her hands back now after treatments and stuff, but she had lost use of her hands. And she wrote a book during that period with dictation tech and you know, and having it sort of put it down for her. So it's like all of that helpful, great, is not what we're talking about. That's not what I'm angry about. It's part of the conversation, but it's not what I'm angry about. What I'm angry about is the generative stuff, the fake art, the look at this animated movie that we can make. It's the people, the tech bros on X that are like, in 10 years time, we won't need a Pixar. We won't need this. Why do we need this? We should just have actors. You know, it's the fact that you have companies pushing for this while voice actors and tag and everybody is, you know, on the picket. Like that pisses me off. And I think we both agree, like regulation gotta happen. It's like, that might be the thing, but and there's all that table setting. We'll get more into it, and then in about 20 minutes time, I'll be ranting about the human soul and crying into my coffee.
And you won't be wrong. You won't be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with your overall statement here.
So where are you at? I know we kind of I spoke for you a little bit, but
no, I'm in the I had ignored it for a while. It's funny, you look back, and again, I think the AI thing right now has a lot of echoes of past giant leaps forward in technology. I think there's, as I said, the biggest thing is the human soul replacement part of it, to be clear. But I remember, I'm sorry if I told the story before, but like I sorry, I'm getting. Remember, I think I told you about before. I'm getting some updates. I have a giant leak in my backyard.
Ken is broadcasting from a flood zone right now, so
it's all good. All good. So, anyways, back when I was started my radio career in the '90s, there was one of the guys who had come in from the big city, Sacramento. Not as big as I thought growing up, but he was working at our station. He was telling us about satellite radio, and he's like, "Look, every car is going to have this. What we're doing here right now is going to be, this is old already." And I remember just kind of out of fear was like, that's not real. Like, that's not going to happen. The radio, look at how could radio change? And within 2 years, we had our first downloadable digital device to get ads off. No longer did I have to do reel to reel and cut reels and everything. And so there's some of that now. When this started happening a couple of years ago, AI, which again, we all can agree is just now general umbrella buzzword term. Right. I did the same thing. I was like, none of this is going to happen. And then sorry, you guys are done. They're going to use AI to do the job that you and I had. This is for a company. We were doing trivia for their wiki pages. You can do the math on who it was. And we were easily replaced because why not? And then that's when it kind of was like, oh, what's going on? So I've gone through this journey. I'll keep it short on. I've gone through this journey where it's like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want anything to do with it. But then I realized, I don't know, it's kind of like when someone's like, keep the government out of things. Well, do you call the police department, fire department, and drive on city roads? Like, where I was just like, oh, I'm already doing some of it.
Is your child going to public school or using the mail? Like, And
again, I don't want to use that to take away some of the negatives. So I have a great worry, and the stuff this week is disheartening at best. It could be, it's dystopian at worst, like you said, disheartened. But then also I want to really, really define things, because I sat shocked in this group of friends all going, no, I don't use it to write. But I do use it to organize things. I do use it to cut hours out of my research. And I have other people close to my life who are like, what are you talking about? AI is great. I do this, I do that, that with it. And it's not generative AI. And then I started using it for my job. I do this thing called perplexity.ai, which is this AI search engine that searches the internet in real time. It's cut hours out of my research. But it's up to me. The morality is, it's up to me to not just copy pasta things I found, to make sure I'm researching that the facts are there. It's like, so that's where I'm at, where I don't want to be a Luddite, but I also, I fear we can't stop these corporations and these film studios and these things. And it's the attitude behind it that I think you and I are very much in agreement of the dudes who are like, oh yeah, you see this shot from Indiana Jones? I used AI to give us the entire shot. Like, oh no, man, you Cybertruck dummy, what are you doing? And so it's all right now. It's a bucket of confusion and emotions, Alden.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, I also don't want to be perceived as a Luddite or anything. Like, I have had like my holdouts. I didn't have Spotify until this year. I refused to use Spotify or Apple Music. I was like, no. I buy albums. I individually download individual songs for the $1.29, like whatever it is. Like, I'm purchasing. I know it's digital, but I'm not trying to be on a service and everything that curates and like. And now I am, because it just got to the point where like I was downloading too many things, and it's whatever pushes you to that point. So I will eventually like slowly embrace, but like what you're saying is like, the attitude is the dividing line, and it's like we can talk to people we know in broadcast media or in digital content, or for you comedy and writing, and even people that who know people in music and acting, whatever it is. That are like, oh, it's about workflow, it's about these things. And it's like, that's great. But it's like, it's hard for me to sometimes be like, yeah, I hear you. When at the same time, it's like, but we all know that like the people that made it and gave it to you are like objectively like it's not objectively evil. It's like it comes down for it's sort of like watching Rings of Power this season, and it's like the 3 rings are working, and it's just like, yeah, but like the 7, the 9, and the 1 are really, really bad. And it's like it is actively supposed to lure you in with these things that are working. Like I get really angry and paranoid because it's like, yeah, it's making our research easier and our curation easier. And you and I talked about like how Spotify is sort of, you know, starting to be the testing ground for like, could we see a whole radio shift happen this way? AM drive and morning hosts around the country should be very afraid. Middays and even afternoon drive, like, you know, it doesn't take much to have them write apparently a whole screenplay. So it's like, you think they can't write a break? You think they can't take you into spots? Like, you guys cost a lot of money, some of you. And it's bad.
I mean, I'm already, I for what I do in Hall of Fame Music Radio, I have Pop Rock and Radio there now, which is totally me, and it's organic and it's human, including little flubs and everything. I record it live. But for what I do on tracking for my weekend morning shift, you could train an AI program to take my liners and take hours of my voice available online. I bet you couldn't tell the difference. And I don't make any money, so they're not. No one's replacing me at this radio station. But man, that's what's scary. And it's like you don't want to be the obstacle on the steamroller of change. But I do agree with folks like you and my pal Joseph Grimshaw, who was very outspoken of the loss of humanity. And that's when I say I have a bucket of emotions, and I don't, you know, I know what I think is wrong, and I know what I think could be right, including the technological advances AI could do in the medical field and all that stuff. And you and I have done a good job, I think, at parsing it all out. But I'm afraid of that kind of stuff. And the thing is, Alden, I don't think a lot of people care. And that's where it feels hopeless, right? If I was to be like, that radio station that 4-hour shift you just listened to, that's an AI DJ. People would be like, I don't care. And that's where I get afraid.
That's the anger.
I fade away. But you should care.
Yeah, that's like Eli's comment here. I just want to believe that people will be able to tell. Maybe I'm too naive. And I don't think it's naivete, Eli. I just think it's more so like what we've realized is that people are easily duped. And then, behind that, it's like, do people even care? And it's frustrating sometimes because people don't see the value of, like you said, like you leave a flub in, you leave an you leave a whatever. They don't get why that counts. You know? Pull up. Yeah, let's pull up Dan's comment.
Dan's comment. Dan says they're definitely full AI food bloggers doing exactly what I do with generated recipes and photos, and most of the comments are just people saying, "Wow, looks delicious." Yeah,
it's bleak. And like beyond this is like the morality of it, and like the bigger thing. Oh, Doreena's here with her bucket. Molly's here. Hi, Molly. Molly, when will you be replacing Alex with AI? Just give us a timetable. Give us a timetable on that. I'm curious. Why do we need 2 of you? It's not like your relationship is part of the charm. That'd be ridiculous. It's like, like you said, like, would people even care? And it's like increasingly we see that they don't. And it's so unbelievably frustrating. And it starts with small conversations of like us arguing about nerd shit and realizing that like media literacy is in the toilet. That opens the door to what we're talking about.
I agree.
Like we haven't taught people, why songwriters matter, why actors matter, why all these things matter and what they give. And and that's why I refuse. And like I slip up, as you know, and I know you've caught yourself doing it too. Like we don't want to use the word content, or as my friends call it, content with a hard C, or content in parentheses slur. And it's like you don't want to go down that road because they wanted to make it all sound like it was the same. And it's like TikTok using the title creator for everybody that's on it. And it's like that is by design. In the same way that calling everything content is by design. If you take dancers and comedians and policy wonks and sex workers and painters and parents and all these things that are on TikTok, and we combine them into creator, then all the dividing lines and all the distinctions and everyone's disciplines, everyone's training, everything, everyone's passion, everyone's walk of life and path toward being that thing, None of that matters. And all of this, the language, the shifting the window, everything that's acceptable makes it hard to even be like, oh, well, it's just organizational. It's just this. Because it's like, yeah, we all know really great, really passionate, really talented people that do it. And I have faith in them to draw the line. Like nobody that you or I are hanging out with is a plagiarist. It's like, but no one else has their discipline, or not everyone else has their discipline. So when you see a story about like this, like social media platform that's like, oh, well, all the users besides you will be AI, you'll get AI generated feedback and you'll get responses of different things and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, so we're actively anti human connection at this point, which to me sounds like the natural endpoint of take away everything special about what you do. Now it's take away everything special about who we are.
Yeah, and I'm pointing at my shirt here. Josh McCouga and I created Alone, the app for no friends, no followers, just peace and quiet. Just don't follow me on Alone was our catchphrase. So I want some money. We're going to sue for this. We've been championing this for a while. Look, but see, even the motions like I was talking off air with some friends the other day, and one of them was something like, but I want the option to call a human, which I agree with. And this is we were talking about like medical stuff, and I was like, the moment I see I have to call, I don't do it. So if someone here's your AI bot that can talk to Kaiser and schedule your appointment, I would probably do it because of anxieties. And so that's where it starts getting a little muddled too, where it's like I agree releasing some humanity, but like some people have anxieties where this helps them a lot and cuts down a lot of their struggles in life. And that's why there's no clear answer other than I highlighted some here if you want to get to these.
Yeah,
First of all,
absolutely.
This is a bummer. Molly Damon says we know for a fact our videos are used to train AI, which sucks. Yeah, and that's what's scary about it. I joke, but I had a conversation with my parents last time I was visiting them last month. We came up with a code word because I was like, there's so many hours of my voice out there. You could get a call from me asking for money, and this happened because they almost fell for something that had happened related to my sister. They got a call, and it wasn't AI, but it was just a very aggressive scam. And I don't even blame them for falling. It was a weird circumstances of how did they know this type of thing. But I was like, there's so many hours of my voice, and I'm so personal on air. My first dog's name could be somewhere on a podcast I don't remember. So we have to come up with some code word. And we did. And we're all, that's why I hate that. I hate what Molly's saying of just like, they're taken from everyone. And that's why it's a concern. Any of your stuff out there, whether you're a content creator or an artist, it could be taken, and that's just scary.
And it's like, I don't want to like act like you or I are like these heroes or anything. And I'm not like, what's that like? Come down off the cross. We need the wood. It's like I'm not trying to climb up onto it, but it's like I have gotten, as I know you have, offers for like, hey, help us train AI bots. I get at least one email a week that's like a job offer of like, come train this chat bot. We'll give you, 30 something whatever an hour to like do this and blah blah blah. And it's like I don't take them, and it's like I need that fucking money. So it's like I understand where the desperation comes in of like the more that we've gutted the industries, the more people have to fall in line.
Yeah. I applied when I was at my lowest in February, March, lost pretty much all income and employment. I did apply for those jobs. I took their little test. They never wrote me back. I was rejected by the bots.
Man,
I never got it. It's
one of the bleakest things I ever heard.
And Zarina, who I want to highlight, can I do a sidetrack for a second?
Of course. Absolutely.
Zarina she streams music shows like me. She has a great show on Mixcloud, DJ Bruja Radio, and she did a Chapel Roan stream yesterday, but it was on at the same time as my Blathering, so I went and watched it later. And she, like me, because we're in the same generation, took the advice of, hey, you should check out this artist. You were the one that recommended Chapel to me. And then I went, yeah, that sounds great. And then Darina, like me, saw the NPR Tiny Desk concert and was like, oh, I get this on a level I didn't before. So, Darina, I'm right with you. It was a great episode. Check out Darina's channel. Darina says this: AI is like any technology, be good or bad. The technology itself isn't the problem. The problem is how people in power use it. It's good for us to learn the technology, be educated. And I really like that approach because it talks about you being a policy wank, as Jared points out. How, wonk. Oh,
not a wank.
Oh, no, it looks like wank. Sorry, it looks like wank. And there it says wonk. But there on the side in the StreamYard thing, it says wank. It's like, but
policy
tell
wank.
you what, you're a policy wank. Let's be honest. Jared's laughing in his lunch.
I am also a wank. It's true.
Yeah, this is a fact. But I really like to read what Dorita's saying there, is because I think I've heard everyone say, and you and me included, it's about corporate powers. That's what happened with you and I losing our gig. That affected my life. I know it affected your life. If I had that job all during 2023, I wouldn't have been at the point I was in early 2024 with no job, no money, and crying openly on a stream, going, I don't know what to do with my life. Like that changed my life. And hopefully, we're building back and we build better. So we can all say that, but and it's not an empty thing to say, hey, the powers that be. It's like, but I love what Doreen's adding here of, I also don't want to be afraid of it. I also don't want to know, or I also want to know the different uses, the differences, generative AI courses, all those things. And I think it's empowering to educate ourselves. And that's a good explanation, Alden, as best I can, to what I was even feeling, or what I was even texting you offline. Where my thought is, whoa. Don't nail me to that cross. If at a party I go, oh yeah, I use this AI search engine that is massively helpful to my writing research. Don't execute me for that. Let's have a conversation about it. And and that's what I like that we're doing here. But I really like that comment from Dorina. It's a multifaceted, multiple truth kind of look at it.
Look, as Grand Admiral Thrawn, Ken's favorite character, once said, to defeat an enemy, you must know them.
He's written by AI.
But he's written by AI.
That
Was
is
Timothy Zahn the original AI? Send tweet. No. No, he's a very nice man. Please don't run with that, anybody. He's very nice.
Zahn's fine.
But it's like, yeah, I think the with that, it's like you don't ever want to get to the point where you're suddenly like resisting everything because of like a moral crusade. Yeah. And then it's like, even though, it does feel that way sometimes, like you're compelled to, but the education is key, because it's not everything. Like we talked about, like with that story I told about that artist I follow, or lots of people who have different things of like, I have this disability, or like, this is my background or whatever. And certain uses of this tech help. We've seen things of like AI in agriculture, the way that it's been able to help certain projects. There was that story, and I apologize for not having the full details, but I'm sure somebody can find it very quickly, about AI technology being used to identify like early breast cancer signs way in advance. It's like, hell yeah, that's what we should be doing. That's what that's what I wish that I wish our futurists and our society were actively concerned with the future, instead of bastardizing the present. And that's the issue that I think a lot of us are facing, is that what we have lost, and this is a thing that I've said a bunch of times, so if I'm repeating myself on this show, sorry, you're gonna hear it again. I got into an argument. There was like a 3 versus 3 argument with my old high school friends, who I love, but it was like 3 of them went into tech and software, computer engineering or whatever. And then you have me, who's like broadcasting and podcasting, radio, writing and all that. And then another friend who's an artist, another friend who's a teacher. And so you had the dividing line was there. And one of my friends who I love was saying well, but what if somebody really wants to make X, and they really want to, those arguments, and they really want to get in and everything. And it's I don't know how to say this in a nicer way. Being untalented is not a fucking plight. Being untalented is not, you are not in a protected class for not having that skill. And it's I could, for me personally, it's my entire life I've wanted to be a good artist visually. I would love to learn to draw. Maybe if I had started, 28, I could always start. Yes, all the platitudes and anecdotes. It's never too late. All that stuff. Yes, okay. I'm not looking for the get Alden to draw hashtag. But what I'm saying is would it be right now for me to be I'm 28 and I've always wanted to draw. Let me just punch it into generative AI. No, it would not be fucking right. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is that you do not get to shortcut people because of some misplaced inadequacy issue, or some I wish I was at the table. And it speaks to me a problem that I've realized more and more and more, even in the way that we criticize art or the way we discuss it. Why didn't this TV show do this? And it's because it's not about what you fucking want. And it's become so egocentric that has now bled into the AI spaces. And I realized we as a society love art, but we don't care about artists. We like what we get out of it, and we don't care about what went into giving us that thing. And that's why I think Del Toro's words from this week, I believe it was on the BFI Instagram and everything. You could check it out, and there's a link to the full chat. And it was like, called them semi-compelling screensavers, but then said like, will this thing ever make you think about when you lost your mother or when you lost a child or that you wasted your youth? Fuck no. It will never actively make you feel that way. And it's like, if we brushed up against things like, and you guys actually spoke about this on Force Center about the Cushing lawsuit that's going on. But it's like, even that aside, you go to something like Luke Skywalker and how Mark Hamill is there and he's in costume and he's performing the reference and he's helping co-direct the scenes and he's giving all these notes and everything. And he is that guy. And we still have people, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but you still have people that are like, no, I don't care. It's too soulless. It's too this. Valid, whatever. Separate conversation. I say that to say, if we're already at that, even with these people involved, Harrison Ford and Dial or whoever, Jeff Bridges and Tron, if we're already at that point, you don't think it's going to get worse? You think that there's a path there? That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, and we have these guys. You have these actors, which for me as a personal, like, that's always been my criteria. Is the person involved or at least their child?
Yeah. Okay. No, I agree. Sorry if I cut you off.
No.
No, I understand what you're saying too, and that's why I love talking about it because I don't have the clear path forward, and I guess write your congressmen and write your reps and all those things to get regulations in place. I said I like what Newsom signed this week. Whether or not that goes forward, we'll see. But there's debates over that. I have debates with friends over like where I for one liked the second go around with Luke Skywalker. It was insanely wonderful to me and warm and this and that. But that means, like you said up top, my hands then are already dirty, and so then it keeps slipping down. And like a lot of what you're saying too, the echoes, and I'll even pull back further. I agree with you, and it's maybe 2 drinks in being an a-hole at a bar, but the truly untalented trying to get into an arena where they don't belong. I'm not talking about the people who need help or where, like you said earlier, the lack of the use of hands and this and that. Like that's powerful. That's a good use of it. Obviously, caveat without a doubt. But the people who are sitting there like, I want to paint, and I'm not going to go to have the skill, go to years of training school. That's kind of where I was feeling things of coming out of. You can make fun of radio all you want. It's not easy to hit the post of a song for 4 hours. It's not easy to hit the sports and weather. That's a thing. It's a skill I learned and worked on, and to watch that get swept away by people who are like, well, now I want in. And then it just keeps flowing down where like I get grumpy at like Instagram sketches. I don't find any of them funny, not because some of them aren't funny, but because I'm like, I wrote that 20 years ago in a Groundling sketch, pen to paper. I wrote that from, you're just doing hack jokes and gaming an algorithm now. And so I get, and I want to separate that from the bigger issues.
For sure.
But I worry like the acceptance, like you said, not that it's a coordinated effort, but it's just the slow acceptance of that. And that stuff becomes replaceable. What Guillermo del Toro's talking about. Like, I'm wondering if slowly we're going to have generations of people who don't know they're missing that. Much like me not watching Lion King and not knowing what I'm missing. We'll have people who don't know that they're missing that art should affect them in that way.
God, I'm going to write a psych paper later tonight called The Lion King Paradox.
Yeah.
About this exact phenomenon of people that don't even realize that they don't realize. Richard Dunhill III says, which like, what an incredible, Richard Dunhill III?
That's an amazing name.
Of the legendary Dunhills? I don't know. I'm just making shit up. But that's a great name. When AI runs on quantum computers, it's game over. Yeah, man, Richard Dunhill III, you might know more than me because quantum computers still sounds like something that like Spock would say. Like I know we have them. I know it's real. Yeah. Like I know quantum mechanics and everything is real, obviously. But like, I don't even. Dude, I'm talking about X right now. I don't even want to think about quantum computers.
I've spent the last 13 days working on a video about quantum mechanics, general relativity, and the holographic universe, which I used my AI search engine to help me understand because I don't know. I'm dumb. I believe in Bigfoot more than I believe the actual science of quantum mechanics because I just can't understand the infinite possibilities. So I love that we got that there. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I don't know if I distracted you there.
No, not at all. I just looking at the conversation.
Yeah. Matthew, could you see that Matthew Stokes checking it from the UK? Artificial. Where's his first comment? I asked ChatGPT what Thrawn would say about AI, artificial intelligence, like any tool, is only effective as the hands that wield it. Its ability to analyze vast amounts of data, to uncover patterns, to anticipate sections is invaluable in the theater of war. However, it lacks the subtlety of intuition, the creativity born of sentient thought, and the understanding of nuance that comes from studying the adversary's culture and motivations. That's wonderful and true.
And then, like, the next line would be Eli Vanto being like, "I just asked where we were taking the ship." Like, I just, yeah, it's unfortunate.
What do you? Yeah. Go ahead. 898 for imps. Get some good comments today.
Yeah,
this time
make what looks like really good drawings while making the most basic mistakes. Yeah, a lot of it depends on like the laziness of the human eye too.
Yeah, the biggest problem with AI replacing human creation, art, music, food, etc., is that the model doesn't have literal taste. I don't trust it to push new taste genres like it couldn't invent cubism. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Because so much of this is about, like, so much of human creation is about we had to do it that way by necessity, or we accidentally got to that place, or we had to figure this out by doing what you're not supposed to do. Like, you know how we get to, like, we're nerds and like we watch the same things hundreds of times. So by the time you're watching, like, if you watch A New Hope right now today, there's so many little things that you would be tuned into that someone just wouldn't. Like, I watched it last week after we lost James Earl Jones, and when the Tusken Raider is lifting the gaffy stick above its head, it's like we both know that that's a reverse shot. That's a shot mirrored.
Rocked.
It's like
that's one shot rocked in the editor. Yeah.
And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do stuff like that, you know. Like, but that's something that like we're never gonna get there with like AI filmmaking or AI art. Like, we're not gonna find happy accidents, you know. Like the I don't know the real. Maybe Dan can tell us from Food in My Beard about like the true origin story of the potato chip, but like the urban legend is that it was an accident. You know, like that's always been the folklore of the potato chip. We only have them because of an accident. And I struggle to think about where we're going. You know, we would kill improv would be the first art to go. It would be done, dead, and over. And you know, it's bleak. It's sad.
It's bleak. Where do you go forward? How do you go forward? Where do you see the fight needing to happen? I always look on a one-to-one basis. Can I change the conversations around me? But I don't know. Where does your youthful heart take? Yeah,
I think that's a good place to start. You know, like in the home, like you always have to think about who's around you. You talking to your parents is something I never thought about. I'd never thought about like potential scams and everything and things like that. How that might affect my family, especially I also have hours of my voice out there and everything. And I'm sure it would be, I say the same shit all the time. So like you could absolutely make an Alden quote, just like use any of my buzzwords. So it's like, there's that argument, but then also at a much bigger level, where does this conversation need to happen? Congress. It needs to be happening with people out there, and which is the case for lots of things. You know, we're not talking about this today, but a completely other thing that's still about art is like the whole, like, let's kill this project for a tax write-off and everything. And how people are slowly realizing like, hey, you can't be in the business of no business. And like, that's becoming a gradual, maybe we should go after them. And I think that it's going to get to that point with plagiarism in terms of generative AI, because it's like, I came up in the, you know, I'm sure they cared about plagiarism when you were in high school, Ken, but like they didn't have anything that could like dead to rights prove it. You know, you just had to have a teacher that really, 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 really paid attention.
A friend of mine once copied my essay right before class and word for word, and then the teacher just happened to read them out loud back to back, and we both got in trouble. I was innocent. I was an innocent in that. It's hard. I for years have worked in the YouTube space, well known for plagiarism, both intentional and unintentional. But I also think back to grabbing an encyclopedia, flipping to Dwight D. Eisenhower, and writing a book report where I just kind of took the words that were there. And so my point being, it's not right. It's just this human nature to not care. Yeah. And that's part of my struggle now is we're pointing at the AI. Don't you care that this doesn't make you feel something? Everyone's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fight that.
With that, we're I'm glad you said the plagiarism thing. That's very funny. But then on top of that, when I came up, turnitin.com was huge, and I think it still is. But with the AI battle, it's becoming more complicated. But every essay we turned in high school had to be submitted to turnitin.com, and it was like a plagiarism checker that had a database and all this stuff. It was a whole thing, and this was standard. This was like around the whole. I went to a charter school, but it was still public. I know everyone in Florida did it. Yeah, 8984M. OMG, Turnitin. Yeah, everybody remembers that.
So you and I both
we're doing the tag on the
ding, 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 ding.
So that's a whole. That was a thing.
Interesting.
And it's so you're gonna tell me that 14 to 18-year-olds and then 18 to 22-year-olds in further education, that all these people need to be held to this standard of don't do this. But then when they achieve the career that they worked to in those environments, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. It's like, that is insane. Like, if we don't start taking either similar checking technologies to the studios, to the media conglomerates, to all these things, then it's going to continue to get out of control forever. Because we know, just from you being in the town, but also like just through the grapevine of the industry, the job we alluded to, other places, there are several companies and several people that are already going down this path, but know it's wrong, and so they're not saying so publicly. And it's like, I would love to see laws that say you need to disclose. I would love that. I mean, we saw that happen just now with the Francis Ford Coppola and the Megalopolis trailer, that it had all of those. And I was somebody that was like, oh, that trailer is so fucking funny. That's so cool. It had all these negative reviews of previous Francis movies at the start of it. Right. Because I guess when you're 80-something years old, you just don't give a fuck anymore.
You cast John Voight in films and you just go after critics. Yeah. But
interesting choices there. And then it comes out within the same day, because you have a lot of film historians that were like, Pauline Kael didn't say that about The Godfather. And then all of a sudden, Lionsgate is like, oh, we're sorry, Francis. We gave it to a trailer house and they chat GPT'd it. That trailer house should have to disclose forever that they used, and they should have to disclose it forever. And the people on the team should be reprimanded, and they should have to have either on their resumes or whatever we got to do that they did it. It's not. I'm not saying we should ban it outright, but like, you should, in the same way that I think there should be an AI art gallery, not in art galleries. If that's what we got to do, great. The Tribeca Film Festival is allowing AI shorts in. They should not be competitive. They should not even be near the other shorts. Right. And we need like distinction through enforcement is going to have to be the path, I think.
I'm someone who wants some regulations. I love that on YouTube you have to disclose it. Now, does everyone follow it? I don't know, but it's a step forward, and YouTube has its own AI issues and algorithm issues, we know. But like, I like what you're saying, because the dangerous side, Taylor Swift, endorsing Donald Trump via an AI art piece. Like we see the dangers of it, and I'm with you. Like, I want to get to Congress in an impactful manner. My one fear is, like, look at what happened a year or so ago now with the, or was it 2 years ago now? The aliens, the UFOs, the UAPs. Yeah. What was baffling to me is Congress sat there in front of these, not all grifters, but mostly grifters, and we're so behind what all of us online knew about them.
Yeah.
You have Jeremy Corbell there. You have George Knapp. This group has known each other for 20, 25 years. They're selling the same story. They sell it in different ways, but yet Congress was sitting there taking it seriously, because it's like your parents who were like, oh, what's this? Because that's just a natural thing. And that's a natural thing with aging. But now if you're someone in a position of power in government, you're going to be, unfortunately, naturally disconnected, even if you try. You're going to be naturally disconnected what's going on the ground. And that's what I'm waiting for. I'd like the AI conversation to happen impactfully in the halls of government that are current, and not like, wait, hold on. I'm a congressman from Delaware. Are you telling me you could make my voice on a computer? Like, that's the kind of thing I don't want to see online on Capitol Hill. I want to see the Jasmine Crockett's of the world get
it's
into it. I
gonna
want to
happen
see AFC.
too.
Yeah. You telling me the robots could get my job? Like that's gonna scare me.
The only way we're gonna motivate these people is if we can somehow convince them that AI is Hamas. Then they'll work harder than they've ever worked. They'll work so hard.
So hard.
If we tell them that all AI is generated by innocent people of color, then they'll what? Oh my God!
Are you telling me robots? Yeah, that's gonna be that should I'm gonna create that character. Maybe I should do my hack Instagram sketches. Tully Quinn says this: we aren't even dealing with how environmentally destructive AI is. The energy needs to run. Microsoft's reopening through my island to help it run. Yeah. There's definitely that. I mean, look, that's the argument I get with my dad anytime I talk about how, wanting an EV or the grid. It's like, well, yeah, fix the grid for environmental reasons, but then you got what Teller's saying is absolutely true. That's and that was an early thing in the AI world, right? In the NFT world, I remember Kevin Smith announced
NFTs?
something. Remember NFTs? Kevin Smith announced like an NFT related project, and everyone was like, but the energy is like. I got it. I got to go with I got thousands of hours of podcasting that's hosted somewhere on something that's churning up energy. And it was like this kind of like hands in the air thing, which is a wavy way to avoid what Tully's talking about here.
For sure. Jared pointed out Zuckerberg being crucified over Finsta and how senators thought that Finsta was not slang, but in fact a subsidiary of Instagram. That was I forgot about that. That's legendary.
Are you telling me Finsta is not a subsidiary of Instagram?
No, it's amazing. Yeah, we need to. So again, we need to calm them in the same way that like if we could convince the GOP that we could give fetuses guns, like if you could combine these issues in a way that manipulates them, I mean, the scary tech this week, of course, Israel, everything that happened with these pagers and a 9-year-old child murdered, and then of course, we have to act like we don't know anything about it. And we're not going to answer any questions. And Miller from the State Department just further punching his ticket straight to hell. Oh yeah. Honestly, if you at this point, if you work for the State Department, you should join Diddy on Suicide Watch. Like it's like I just don't which is another thing. By the way, before this episode of Anytime with you and me, I was asked by my mother, what are you talking about this week? And I said, we're talking about artificial intelligence. She said, you're not talking about Diddy? And I said, no, we're not talking about Diddy, Mom. We're not talking about Diddy. It's like, I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm saying like, what can Ken and I add to the crusade against Diddy than anyone else?
I'm just glad, first of all, there's been many women who've been saying this about Diddy for years, right? So the only thing I'll say about it is I'm glad that him and the McMahons and all those folks have been exposed in a frightening way, and they're still going on. And that it feels weird that a lot of names that have dominated pop culture for like 20 years or politics for 20 years or the world for 20 years are having this kind of exposure. And it just, it tweaks my brain in a good way that at least we're moving forward, where I'm just like, was everything a lie? And the answer is probably yeah. There's just always horrible things going on.
And as internet sleuths do, the things that are not concrete things that are coming up, but like connections. Like there's an episode of our favorite talk show, Hot Ones, where Ashton Kutcher was on there, and they get into a tangent about the Diddy parties and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I can't talk about the Diddy parties," and it's like that guy ran an organization about child trafficking to stop it. To do the opposite of doing it, not doing it. Darina comments.
Darina. Well, Cal.
Kingsport
Cal.
Cal.
You ain't got 1,000 miles Lubias? Cal might. Hundreds of dildos.
Yeah.
Darina might. I don't know. Yeah.
Definitely,
no, but you know what I mean?
Not a great week, just in terms of our after all this whole AI conversation pivoting straight into Diddy, the conclusion is not great. Not good.
Wait. You're telling me at these parties, well, bottles of lubes, dildos were forced onto the guests. That this was a bad thing.
We could tell them that like Diddy used robots to capture people.
You're telling me robots? Robots? Yeah. Crazy week. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Where it's like
coming to life before our very eyes.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so weird. Like I can't maybe fully explain it. Just looking at a name, and I wasn't like a fan. I didn't, you know, he sampled a Police song that I liked, like,
Sure.
which even then is a weird song. It's just weird. It's weird and both a victory to see some of these people toppled.
And it also it affected one thing in an indirect way, which is that for years I've always said, and it still is, one of my favorite films is Richard Linklater's School of Rock, starring Jack Black. And one thing that I've said about it for years is that it has aged perfectly. There's not a single joke in that film that is inappropriate, that is cringe, that is racist, that is anything. It has aged perfectly. As of this week, and as of the Diddy stuff, that is no longer true. Because when he asks the kids who they listen to instead of classic bands, one of the kids goes, Puff Daddy. And now we can no longer have that perfect scene. Now we're at about a 99%.
that movie is... Well, there you go. There you go. Look, I know we've crossed the 12 o'clock hour, and I've got my poor gardeners outside with a flood. I do want to talk about Saturday Night Live. It's the 50th season starting up, and you and I are exchanging some texts, and it's a fascinating lesson in generations where I am so out of touch with SNL now, but it was I was one of those guys for years that could just read off the history of SNL from my brain like I was AI. And I do love the show. Where do you want to go with it? And also, you had I don't go on x.com a lot anymore, but I saw you had what I thought was a great thread. You and I, don't always necessarily need to agree on things, but I agreed with you 100% on the Lorne Michaels take.
Oh, that pissed me off. Yeah, I was pissed.
Yeah,
I was pissed on behalf of an 80-year-old something man that I've never met, which I had to make clear. I don't have a stake in this, but so we'll start with the basics. We'll start with the basics. Yeah. We'll go, real quick. We'll rattle off the SNL. So level 1, we both like SNL. Level 2, you're an SNL, I would say, somewhat of a historian. Maybe not in the last few years.
Up to a certain point. Yeah, up to a certain point, I am. Yeah.
But you know your shit. Like, for example, the Saturday Night film is coming out, which I don't know if it was supposed to coincide with the anniversary, but it works out nicely.
It is.
And you had also worked on a project that was similar. You had written a script way back that, like,
I finished second place in a screenwriting competition, Alden, in 2000. I wrote a script called New York Nights, and it was based on the first 5 years of SNL, but it was fictional. And I was very proud of it.
And you know what? New York Nights will be available for a $1,000 donation to I don't know.
I don't even know if I have that manuscript anywhere. It's on an old computer somewhere. Yeah.
So we both saw the trailer for the movie. I'm really excited for the movie. You're like lukewarm excited for the movie, or interested.
Lukewarm excited.
Yeah. So we're feeling the SNL energy. Then the 50th anniversary announcements start to roll out. First host of the season, Gene Smart. Hell yeah. Then we got 2 pairings that I think are just out of this world good. A third one, if you really like Ariana Grande, I don't dislike her, certainly not. But she's great on the show. She's a good host and she's good on the show. Yeah. Yeah. And so she has hosting duties. Stevie Nicks, musical guest, first time in I think 34 years.
Yeah, since like 85 or something.
Yeah. So there's that one, quickly followed by 2 just like god tier pairs. You got Michael Keaton and Billie Eilish, which like when you think about why he's there, Beetlejuice season and all that, like pairing him with Billie just makes like a lot of sense, like thematically. Like it will be the goth weirdo episode, I think, of the season. If they can get Michael Keaton to do something Beetlejuice in his sketch, I'm sure they're going to ask him. We'll see what happens. But like, this will be people's reminder that he's funny as hell and that he was doing comedy before he was Batman.
He was a stand-up. He started
a stand-up. So it's like, we'll see how he approaches that. Then the one that just like shook the internet and made me text you is John Mulaney and Chappell Roan, which, as people have said on Twitter, this is huge for the bisexual woman in your life that only dates men, which cracked me up. Someone said the standby line is going to cause an incident in the middle of New York. Like it's going to be the most, like someone said, it's going to be the parasocial Olympics because of how much people pay attention to their personal lives. Mulaney's my favorite current comic, and obviously wrote there for years and created a lot of the characters from what I would say is like my growing up cast. and then Chapel will be her first time on there as she continues to take over the world. So all of that being said, what is your reaction to all this? And then we'll talk about Lauren before we get out of here.
I like it. We talk about one of the reasons I am not in deep on SNL as much as I years ago got rid of cable, quote unquote cable TV, cut the cord. But now it's football season, so I have YouTube Live so I can watch football on Sundays. Sorry, I'm a sports head, but that allows me to watch Saturday Night Live again, or at least on the West Coast. And I might try for the 50th season, because it wasn't like I was like, this ain't funny anymore, because I've never been that this ain't funny guy. Because if you say this ain't funny anymore, you don't understand how the show works and how it works historically. So I'm interested.
Everyone said that every season.
Yes, it's since the second season, but also essentially since 1980 when they did do the big change.
Saturday Night Dead, Ken.
Yeah, Saturday Night Dead. But my point of that is I don't know if this show is as a water cooler thing anymore in terms of a full 90-minute show on network TV, but it lives strongly digitally, and so it's going to be seen. But this is big. This is big for Chaperone. This is Billie Eilish has already made her mark on the show, but this is a continuation of what she's doing in a big show. Now she's returning royalty to the show. Jelly Roll opening up as a musical guest with Gene Smart is that's him going to a higher level. This is not unlike Lady Gaga coming on early on in her run, where she was already big, already popular, but now the normies get to see her, and the normies get to decide. Or a normie like me gets to look at this Lady Gaga meat dress wearing girl going, oh shit, no, I was wrong on that. This isn't manufactured. This is art. This is an artist. And I think that you're going to see that with some of these names. And that's what's exciting for me. 50 years in, SNL can do that. It doesn't break people, because you already have to have a little bit of currency to get onto the show. But it does cement you in a position. And I'm curious to see if it will do that for these artists. Chapel's going to, she's going to grow on her own, right? She doesn't necessarily need SNL, but it's a thing. And I'm glad it's a thing 50 years in.
For sure. Like, yeah, she's had her taste of TV with Late Night, but like this is, you get, the introductions are iconic for a reason. Breaking in the middle of this iconic show for you specifically, it has a little bit of pageantry to it and majesty to it that I really am excited for. And also for terms of Chapel in particular, she comes from, musical theater and performing arts and different things. And she originally wanted to be an actor and has already received, in interviews, she said, received acting offers that she's turned down because she's just trying to work on the second record and everything. But I'm wondering, like, will she like dip her toe in and like appear in one of Mulaney's sketches and show that side? Because at the same time, you have Kaylee Spaney, who is on the, one of our emerging actor stars, Alien Romulus and Civil War and all these things. And she said that she used to be in talent shows as a little girl with a young Chapel Roan, and that they would cross paths in the talent kids pageant performing circuit and just went down these two different paths. And so it's like, yeah, maybe she'll, because she's not going to shy away from the theatricality of it.
And trust me, that thing, we have The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as a movie star in a large part because of SNL. Large part because of SNL. We had, for better or worse, and I know a lot of people will say worse, and I don't disagree, but Timberlake became something larger than he maybe even should have been. But by showing, look at all these sides, I can do these crazy sketches too, and I think there's still a power in that. So I think you're right. I think that's going to be something interesting to watch. Without a doubt, she'll appear in something.
Yeah. So all that being said, the last thing I wanted to note is that Lorne Michaels gave a not even definitive quote. He just, 50 years, making a movie where he's, going to be the main character, all these different things. And he said that, 50 years into doing something, basically, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not sure if I want to leave. Maybe I'll just keep doing this. It's what I do. And I'll keep doing it for as long as I can, which is a very stock answer for veterans of any field, as long as they can, especially artists. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, every single take from people I know and people I don't know was the most unforgiving, callous, like shitty little snarky, fuck you old man type shit. And it was like, why are you acting like a like an old politician. It's not a lifetime appointment. Like, this is why art gets bad, because you don't know how to let go, and we become this, that, and the other thing. And the same spirit as like Star Wars is just about Star Wars, which is a complaint that doesn't mean anything. It's like, if we just like let things go and we don't inject new life. Well, you said you were gonna let Tina take over. Let Tina take over. First of all, I don't know Tina Fey, but I'm pretty sure Tina Fey would be like, let Lauren do what he wants. So it's like, don't make her the poster child for your moaning. And beneath that, as I said in my Twitter thread, it's like, I hate the double standards just in life. Like, I don't like arbitrary moving goalposts. And that's also something I need to work on. Sometimes I can be like rigid to a fault in terms of like the standards.
Sure.
But it's like,
I get you.
If we have, and the example I use is John Williams, because he was the oldest beloved person I could think of. And I think he's a perfect example for this. John Williams has not, I wouldn't say threatened retirement, but has thought about putting it down for a few different times. And now he's, I believe, 92. And every single time that John Williams rears his head for a show, or even another composer's opportunity, like Natalie Holt on Obi-Wan Kenobi or John Powell on Solo, and he comes in and he's like, very kindly, I'm sure, like, I would like to, I would to do the main theme, and like eclipses them, even if he doesn't mean to, we celebrate it because we're glad that we still have Williams. And sometimes it eclipses so hard that the other person really does just have to sit in his shadow, like what happened to Natalie Holt on Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we celebrate that. We celebrate Jagger. We celebrate Scorsese. And it's like, Coppola's in the news, not being celebrated, but it's like every single time that this happens, we're like, wow, look at them, unless it's wrestling. And then we're like, maybe you should look after yourself. But so it's different for Lorne Michaels. What? Because you haven't laughed in the last few seasons. So it's go away, old man, and you're ruining it. It's like, some of you, as I said in the thread, some of you can't even quit podcasts that you're on. You can't even like you can't hit unfriend. And yet somebody who created something and has moved into his elderly years doing just that thing, minus 5 years, it's like, that's supposed to be easy and as simple as move on. That's just like, so there's like no grace in that. Like, it's just like, I don't want to go as far as to say disrespectful. And again, I don't need anyone to like tweet me and be like, well, one time Lauren said this really bad thing. I don't care. It's not about that. It's just like, and again, I also acknowledge part of it is like my rapidly growing empathy for old people, which like I didn't have in my early 20s.
That was the thing I agreed with you the most. You're going to need that as your generation ages. Trust me.
Yeah.
I joke, but that's part of it. But that's part of it. It's part of it because it's great now that you're 28. Try being 38, try being 48, try being 40, sitting in a digital media company's room and having some young shit tell you that you're completely not just outdated in terms of pop culture reference, but just you bring nothing to the table anymore. It becomes it is the natural flow of the generational exchange.
It's like, so why are you doing, like, why are you disregarding only when you feel like it? And it's like, it's not like it's not like somebody made SNL and he came in later in the run and like won't give the keys. It's not Leno.
Yeah, this is not Ebersol. If Ebersol had never left. Look, a lot of thoughts that I agree with it, and look, I think it's case by case. I think it's different for sports. I think it's different for wrestling. It's different for Vince McMahon, who, outside of the horrendous things we now know or have learned over the years, was always kind of a problem in his own way, but also did revolutionize and did do things, and we only have what we have now in wrestling because he took this big risk, blah, blah, blah. The story is not complicated, but the story is layered. But even behind what finally got him out, there was times of like, maybe this emperor needs to go. So I think it's like you and I say, it's always case by case. I know people affected by John Williams still being around, and they are what you would think. They are it's time for him to go. They are he needs to go get off my shoulder. But so it's deliciously complicated. But with the Lorne Michaels thing too, and part of the critiques might be, hey, he is not the kids have the keys to the studio guy anymore that he was in 75. He is the power. He is at times very aware of his power. He'll make you wait for 3 hours. All those stories. Mark Maron tells the great story of why he probably didn't get SNL. Will Ferrell almost didn't. There's all that, and then the booking of complicated hosts. Elon, Giuliani, Trump, all those things. George Steinbrenner, even back in the day. But so that is him cavorting with power without a doubt. But also, that's also always been the history of the show. If you rise in some sort of power, we're, I think, more concerned about normalizing people like that, as we should be. Fallon 100%. Ruffling Trump's hair should be problematic now. But I think does, for me personally, you can't pin that too much on Lauren over the course of 50 years of the show. That's what the show's been. It is a mirror to pop culture. But to your point, if we are at an era now where if you still have the engine to go at 80, you should be allowed to go, especially for something like this. There's a difference between Spielberg and Lucas are in the same age bracket. There's a different energy to them. George cashed out for a lot of reasons and is still working hard, still trying to get that museum open. But he doesn't have the engine to go on set like Spielberg does anymore. And eventually Spielberg might not too. But all these directors, all these people working in the 80s, to me, it is it's not always about them holding on to power. This isn't Nancy Pelosi. This isn't Feinstein. So in the end, this is people who are like, I'm free to create, right? Do I have to pack it in? Some people might, like, anytime blows up and we get multi-million dollars because we're a big YouTube channel, I'm packing it in at one point because my engine's built different. You might keep going, but I'll see you. I'm going to get some, I did not want salt on my margarita. There's salt on my margarita. That's going to be me. All right. But other people, the engine keeps going. And so why do we have to take the keys from them? Someone in this, especially in the arts. I get the politics. I get the sports. It's just at one point just dangerous. Yeah. I get for the benefit. In the end, I came around, and probably this is why a little bit why I was, resisting some of the Biden change things, even though there was things very clearly in front of me. But it was just kind of like, I think I got pulled into the all-encompassing, like, who are you to suddenly push us out of the plane? Because even at my young age, that happened at Collider. That happened. And so I like what you said. Even if all of it's not going to be 100% perfect from all of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I've referenced, the first radio host I produced for is like the biggest radio host in the history of Florida, and like is syndicated nationally, and like he's an older guy. He turned 60 while I was working for him and everything, which like isn't really as nearly as old as what we're talking about with Lauren. But like I watched those conversations. Like I watched people behind this man's back be like, he's old, he's washed, like no one gives a shit anymore, and like these things. Like and I also watched as we put a lot of work into helping him prove them wrong. And we got him a new 5-year deal before I changed the station I was working at and everything. And and I saw what it meant. And it's like, and this guy wasn't perfect. This guy was crotchety and rude and
love him already.
Yeah. But it's like, I just don't understand this instinct, this inconsistent instinct of like, and a lot of it comes to like your taste is the arbiter of what should and what shouldn't be.
And there, look, I think I do love the sports world, and so if you can get on the field and still go and keep your position, then I'm for it. And that's the thing too is, again, if the guy you're talking about was destructive, was lazy, was creative, that does happen. That's why case by case basis is pretty valuable to me. And there are probably some names to take over Lauren's position, but he also has a lot of staff around him, has for years. He's probably not there at 4 a.m. like he used to be. He doesn't need to be. He allows other people to do that. My old groundling buddy Kent Sublet's been like one of the head writers for years there. That's Kent's job. Like that. That's that. So as long as the engine's still going and they're not,
and it's also
actively
it's also
hurting it.
The fact that it's his. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, and
it's the fact that it's his. If George had never sold Star Wars and we were on George's episode 12 by this point, that would and it was like diminishing returns every time and no one liked them anymore. On principle, I would still be like, go George, because it's like,
I agree with that.
I won't let go of stupid shit sometimes. And you're like, and you're he's supposed to let go of something that changed the world, that was his life. It's like, it's just, there's nothing forgiving about that. Anyway,
nothing forgiving.
It pissed me off because I just, be kind to old folks, man. A lot of them suck. A lot of them suck. They do.
Please
but like, When an old person is great,
We're
there's
learning.
nothing more satisfying than a cool old person. Nothing in the world.
We're learning. We're learning.
Not you.
Okay.
Not you.
I got multicolored shoes. All right, I'm
This
trying.
week, Jimmy Fallon, we mentioned him. He turned 50. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
That absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah. He had the career I wasn't talented enough to get. Did everything.
I would argue you were
that I
too
wanted to
talented
do.
for what he's doing, but
It's all in my brain. I need to go to the desert, take some mushrooms, and unlock what's been trapped in here for 30 years. All right. On that note, what's no longer trapped is the water in my yard. So, Alden, I do have to start wrapping up so I can go talk to my landscaper and gardener team. Real life in the way of podcasting. Lovely conversation as always. This is why we love hanging out now and just kind of talking through it all. Nothing we're saying is to be taken as we're experts in any kind of these fields. We're just two blokes trying to get through it all along with you here. So a lot of fun. Thanks for listening. Do us a favor. Like the video, tell your friends, share all those things. They really do help as we try to that. Dorina says, I got you, Ken. And she does.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm going to go finish listening to Dorina's Chapel Roan episode and on her channel. And that's that. That's for me. That's what do you got?
Yeah, check out the new episode of Casually Talk, our other channel. We're covering Rings of Power. Did an episode last night with a whole panel of cool guests. We got 2 more as Sauron takes over Eregion. It's not looking good for our heroes, folks.
That's good stuff. All right, we'll see you next time. Anytime. I'm Ken. That's all. Bye.